Ladies and gentlemen, the Chevrolet Silverado EV.
That's right. In case you haven't heard, Chevrolet has electrified its top-selling pickup truck. The 2024 Silverado EV was officially announced today during a GM keynote at the Consumer Electronics Show. Not actually in Las Vegas where the show takes place, but remotely on stage in Detroit. Chevy invited me out to Detroit to check out the Silverado EV on that same stage. I had roughly 2 hours with the car to make this video and a TikTok. If you're not following me there, you should be. So my impressions are just that. Impressions. Chevy wouldn't let me sit inside the truck like I did with the Hummer EV SUV, and funny enough, the same handler from that video was on site here in Detroit also. Dan, thank you for being so accommodating. When I got to the Fox Theater, which by the way is one of the most beautiful theaters I've ever stepped inside, I got a thorough overview of the vehicle from Vice President of Chevrolet Marketing Steve Majoros and Nicole Kratz, Chief Engineer for Silverado, and Ryan Vaughn, Design Director for the Silverado EV, who were both in the keynote. Very cool to talk to the actual humans that helped make this car a reality. Let's start with the exterior. The Silverado EV that I got to check out, the same one that's in Chevy's promo material, is what I'm calling electric blue. It's nearly identical in size to a regular Silverado, but you'll notice it's got these curves and slopes, which makes it feel new and different. For example, the grille is a lot less aggressive here. And yes, because there's no engine, you get front trunk space. The hood does automatic opening and closing, and there's a plug in there to charge your tools or whatever. I really dig the headlight bar that goes across the nose of the vehicle as well as the illuminated badge. The Silverado EV does a cool animation when it's charging. There's a step bar that extends the width of the doors, and it's on both sides of the vehicle. Obviously, it's a pickup truck. The charging port is on the back left of the truck, and it's capable of DC fast charging at 350 kilowatts. 10 minutes of charging at that speed can add 100 miles, but only using specific chargers. Speaking of charging, the Silverado EV will have an optional power bar, enabling the use of up to 10 outlets on the truck, and can even power your house using 10.2 kilowatts of off-board power. And the Silverado EV can charge other electric vehicles. This particular prototype Silverado EV is the highest end configuration called the RST, which will run you over $100,000 when it eventually ships in late 2023. The entry-level model called WT, Work Truck, will start at $40,000. Chevy says that as production ramps up, they'll introduce more models at various price points. Using what Chevy is calling wide open watts mode, the high-end Silverado EV's dual motors are capable of 664 horsepower, 780 foot-pounds of torque, and 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. It's also capable of trailering up to 10,000 pounds. The Silverado EV has 4-wheel steering. Unclear if it'll crab walk, but it'll make tighter turns and help with steering stability at higher speeds and while hauling a trailer. Chevy also boldly says that their Super Cruise driving technology will enable hands-free driver assistance on compatible roads. We'll have to see how well that works. Chevy says they built this truck from the ground up, and they call this design system Ultium. Chevy says the Silverado EV will have an estimated 400 miles of range on a full charge. Quite an impressive claim. I think my favorite thing about the Silverado EV is what they refer to as the multi-flex midgate. I'll explain. So you've got the truck bed, which spans 5 feet 11 inches in length. There are 6 outlets back there, 3 on each side. There's also these steps on both sides of the truck, which I just thought were a cool design choice. The tailgate itself is configurable with different orientations depending on what you're doing or what you're hauling. If you need extra room, the midgate panels are removable. You can do one at a time or both. Chevy brought out a literal kayak to demonstrate how much space you get. And to take things a step further, the glass pane and panel are removable and there's a place to store it. So you get this wide open truck bed, seemingly big enough to move a whole couch or something. It's 10 feet in length. I've never seen anything like this. The back seats in the Silverado are spacious. Dan is 6 feet 4 inches, and he had plenty of legroom. And yes, his head was quite close to the ceiling. The interior of the Silverado is nice and modern. I think it's what you'd expect. There's a 17-inch touchscreen that, for my 2 minutes of looking at it, seemed to have a nice user interface. It was on a video loop. Again, I wasn't allowed to touch anything. Chevy says the 11-inch digital dashboard is customizable. I couldn't help but notice the physical volume knob on the top left of the display. Interesting design choice. The all-glass roof is cool, but I wish it extended further back to give the passengers the same effect it gives the front seats. It's not as expansive as I've seen in some other EVs. I think it's wonderful that a legacy American car company like Chevy is really getting serious about going electric. It's important for the future of our planet. Now, 2 things worth mentioning before I let you go. Yes, Chevy basically recreated the Avalanche from back in the day. Also, did you know that GM produced an electric car called the EV1 in the late 90s and then canceled the program entirely? Here we are 25 years later, and GM's back with a full send on electrification, a pledge to offer 30 electric vehicles by 2025. You love to see it. Be sure to check out my video on the Hummer EV SUV if you're interested, or maybe a video on the new Corvette is more your speed. Either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.